that's my intro for you.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So, hi everyone. Thank you for joining today. This is my friend Elsa Collins. She's a social impact strategist, and she's also the co-founder of This Is About Humanity. Now, you guys know that I'm super passionate about this. So, This Is About Humanity is actually an organization that supports vulnerable families at the U.S.-Mexican border. So, I'm going to have you start, Elsa, and kind of tell everyone what you do, what This Is Humanity is about, and like how you even got started and what's going on over there.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I grew up on the border in Tijuana and in San Diego, spent time on both sides of the border living, going to school, really like a border child. And when the family separation crisis really started to come into the news close to 2 years ago, along with my sister, Yolanda Walthermead, and my really great friend, Zoe Winkler-Reines, we started This Is About Humanity really as a sort of gut response to what was going on, what we were seeing. It was hitting people in a way that, not many things were because of what was happening with these families. And really what we wanted to do was find the best way to support, women, children, families, people who were caught in these really difficult situations. So we basically just started it, and the response was incredible. People really were interested in learning and understanding what was happening, because a lot of times I think people were afraid to engage in a conversation because they just didn't feel like they knew enough about it, or it seemed like the issue was more complicated than what they thought. And really, This Is About Humanity is just that. It's really focusing on the humanitarian aspect of what this world is about. So we're coming into close to 2 years. I know, Francia, you have been such an advocate in this space, and I kind of want to hear a little bit about your story into coming into this particular topic.
Right. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you for doing that and creating this organization. It's super important. And basically, besides being Hispanic, I'm Mexican Hondureña, and my mom came from Mexico, my dad's from Honduras. I've worked a lot with anti-human trafficking organizations, one known as Unlikely Heroes. And I know that a lot of these children that are separated are susceptible to human trafficking, which I've met some survivors. And that's not a life to live. And so being separated from your loved ones and then being so vulnerable and not knowing when you're going to see your family again, if you're ever going to see your family again, and then possibly be in the hands of a trafficker. Thankfully I have this platform, so I wanted to use it to the best of my ability. That's why I entered the business. And, I'm Latina. I just have a heart for my family, my gente. You know how we are, we're family. So I'm really happy that I got to meet you and that, you actually allowed me to meet some of them. So thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that, Francia and I met at an event. Mm-hmm. And can I share your coined term? I didn't know if I was allowed to share.
Yeah, share whatever you want.
Okay, so basically, Francia and I were at this event. We kind of found each other. We were drawn to each other, the Latinas in the room. And, Francia was just talking, and she said something that, like, to this day, I think should be used, which is Latin so satin. And we just bonded from there. And, I sent Francia a message, and I said, would you be interested in coming and having an experience with This Is About Humanity, visiting with, unaccompanied minors and spending the day with them. And so she came with us and spent the day with, about 40 kids and led a modeling class. It was so amazing. And I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about what that day was like.
It was very enlightening, and it's always a lesson when going to stuff like that, because, these kids, they don't have their families, and they don't know when they're going to see their family again. I know that they kept saying, when I get out of here, which really broke my heart, because you can't give them an answer for that. But they're still really happy, and they still are positive. And I think that's a huge lesson for all of us, that no matter what, they have so much hope. And, some of us even had conversations about faith in God, and they're like, I'm just praying and hoping, and I know that someday it'll get better. And I know for me, it was super enlightening. I love teaching them how to model, which was so funny because they asked me. I didn't even dance. I didn't model. I didn't do anything. And then some of them came up to me and they were like, "Do you model? Do you dance? Can you teach me?" I said, "How did you know?" Okay. And then they got shy. It was so fun.
I know.
Fun.
I had to be like your first recruit. You know, you have to show them, you have to make them feel like it's, you know, it's going to be fun and whatnot. And, you know, I mean, that's kind of, you touched on such an important point, which is, you know, kids are kids no matter what side of the border they're on, where they're from. You know, I think that we all have the same needs and desires, which is to be safe, to be loved, you know, to be in a situation where, you know, you feel like you have a future and you don't have to be worried. And especially now, you know, during this time of this pandemic, which is, you know, just such a crazy time in our lifetime. And, you know, I think a lot about these families. You know, we're here at home, we're sheltering at home and, you know, keeping and, you know, social distancing and doing all these things, all of which are concepts which don't exist in a lot of these shelters. It's impossible really to be socially distant when, you know, the need is so great and there are so many individuals who, you know, are there. And so, you know, I kind of just mentioned that just because I think about it a lot of the time when I'm like tired of being at home or socially distanced. And then I think like, how lucky am I that I can even do that?
Now we can go for a drive, you know? Well, speaking of this pandemic, how are these shelters handling COVID-19? Are people sick? Do they have resources for them? Like what's going on?
Yeah, so we basically shifted gears very quickly when COVID-19 started to become more of an issue. This is About Humanity right now is funding a mobile clinic that's going to all the shelters that we support to give medical care. We just launched a 2-for-1 matching donation. So if you donate $10, it's really $30, and it's really going to sort of these frontline responders who are at the border, who are going to be helping, you know, that vulnerable community. There have been no reported cases, knock on wood, so far in any of the shelters, but they're also on lockdown, so they're not taking anybody new in. You know, they're kind of trying to take the same precautions that we're trying to take, you know, obviously in a much more difficult situation. And that also means that, you know, more than half of the, you know, people who are in that area are not in a shelter, you know, because they're not accepting anybody new. So it's definitely not a great situation, but we're trying to do what we can by, you know, raising funds and sending medical care and reusable masks and, you know, doing all these things that we're doing, you know, with Apoyemos Tijuana and the International Community Foundation. And so we're really just trying to meet the need that's there and help these families get what they need. Because I think that's one thing that I think we've learned from this pandemic is that it doesn't know borders. It only, it can be, you know, really transmitted anywhere. So, yeah.
Wow. I mean, and so you said there have been no reports. Would we know about them anyway? Like, is there a way to find out?
Well, I mean, you know, yeah, of course we can find out. Like, so far the shelters that we support, nobody has reported any cases. To be fair, though, you know, how would we even know if testing is so limited, even here in the States, you know, where tests are difficult to come by really worldwide. So we could like assume just based on, you know, symptoms that it could be, but nothing so far yet, which we're super grateful for. But, you know, that's why we have the mobile health clinics, so they can go do temperature checks and they can go kind of really be on the forefront of, you know, preventing an outbreak from happening.
That's incredible. And so how can these kids, before this pandemic, like, were these kids being able to get medical attention before, or just through you guys? Like,
well, yeah, I mean, it's a little tricky because a lot of these individuals are also undocumented in Mexico because a lot of them are coming from Central America. So it's not quite the easiest thing, although there are some organizations on the ground who are doing really impressive work. Refugee Health Alliance is one of them, Pro Salud is another one. So there are organizations that are out there that are, you know, going and doing medical checkups for these individuals. And the government of Mexico also has a pretty strong inoculation program. So they will administer vaccines and whatnot. So it's actually great. But when you look at how quickly in this pandemic it can spread and how many people can, require hospitalization or something more aggressive, you're not only dealing with sort of the population that lives there already, but you're also dealing with this additional number of people who are there.
Right. You know what was shocking to me when we were at the shelter is that not everyone was Hispanic. There was one Vietnamese boy.
Yeah.
So it's not just among the Latinos that they're separating from their families. It's just anyone that comes here, right? And
right. So kids who come alone or unaccompanied from all over the world. We've seen kids from Africa, from Haiti, from India. You saw someone from Vietnam. So you just think about, the journey that these kids take and what were you doing at the age of 14 to 16 and sort of what it takes to really to undergo a journey like that. And so I think that, that just sort of informs a little bit to what their experience may have been that may have led them to take a decision like that. I don't think anybody, a lot of times people would ask like, well, if you were happy and safe and had a business and your family was, felt, unthreatened, you probably wouldn't leave everything behind.
Right.
Your friends, your family, come alone and all those other things. So I think that that's just sort of like an indication. And so I feel like nowadays with what's happening and COVID-19 and not knowing, who it can affect, how it can affect them and who's vulnerable, we all feel very vulnerable, right? We all feel very scared and want to do what we can to keep ourselves safe. So I think thinking about that kind of reaction that we all have right now is probably can inform a little bit of, how
what they're going through.
Yeah.
But again, we're freaking out. I need to leave my house. But seeing them and being able to model with them and stuff, like they're so hopeful. And like you said, they're still kids. Like, we brought presents for them. So we did contests. And for the girls, we had like nail polish and makeup. And they were still so into it. Like, I want this and I want that and I want a mask. But what broke my heart is they were so hesitant to grab it because they're like, are they going to let me keep it?
Right.
Like we have the freedom to do all of that and they don't.
Yeah. No, and I think you bring up a good point, which is, kids are kids no matter where they are. And so, we also did tie-dye. I almost wore my tie-dye sweatshirt, but I wore the traditional white. But, they want to do just things like we do, like arts and crafts and dance and sing and listen to music. And we had music there and we had tacos there and it was so fun. And I think that also makes me think a lot about like, why is art important for kids and why is creativity important? And I mean, you're in that creative space and like, I'd love to hear you just talk a little bit about how you ended up in that space.
So my dad does radio. So he's a radio personality. He's been doing it my whole life since he came from Honduras. And so that's kind of how I got the little itch to be in entertainment. But again, my dad put me in dance and acting and figure skating and all this stuff. And I kind of just fell into this because I really wanted to. But again, I was so creative. And especially right now, I'm going crazy because I'm like, I can't really let that outlet out except through dance, which I've been doing, and fitness, as you've been pushing me to do.
I've been trying to join in on your lives.
Yeah, I didn't do it today. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I fell into that space. And it's very enlightening and it's rewarding. And I know for me, it's rewarding with everyone else. And I know these kids have dreams and hopes too, to like reward other people. Like you said, I love the title, by the way. This is about humanity because it really is about humanity. Like, okay, so people came from Mexico and Honduras or whatever. But they're still human beings.
Right.
And that's what I think what frustrates me the most about certain people's opinions about it is forgetting the humanity aspect of it. So how can people get involved? And like, this is one of my favorite questions because one of the reasons why I love supporting the groups that I do is because I like to actually share where their money goes. Because sometimes we donate and you're like, well, where's it going? So if we donate, where is this going? How does these help these kids? And like, also after that, if you could talk about the process of some people reuniting with their parents.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for the question. we did, as I mentioned, just launch a 2-for-1 campaign, which means it's triple the impact, which is incredible. So you can go to This Is About Humanity, follow us on Instagram. The link is in the bio to donate. And basically, we're providing, PPE for frontline responders, medical care for these vulnerable communities, reusable masks. That's specifically for that. But we've also in the past, remodeled kitchens. We've donated kitchen supplies, made things more sanitary, remodeled, added a roof when, some of the shelters were being hit with rocks, really buying groceries. We also paid for the rent at the LGBTQ shelter, which is incredible. And, just goes to the humanity of we want to be helping everyone in every situation. We also just launched this Phenomenally Human campaign with Mina Harris at Phenomenal. So they're donating 20% of the proceeds from the sweatshirt to the COVID relief fund. And then we also get to do events like the one that you went to, which is providing, presents and gifts and a good time for these families and for these children. And, just talking about reunification, there was a decision that was rendered in the area, requesting that with all possible speed that kids be reunited with their sponsors or with their families here in the state. So little by little that's happening. Okay. But not everyone has been reunified yet. We also work with Immigrant Defenders Law Center here in LA that does, they have a family unity project, and they've worked a lot to reunite families as well. So there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different people you can follow. We try to keep people up to date with, what we're doing on the ground, and giving people updates and showing people pictures, and really getting people as close as we can to, to where the shelters are. As I said, they're, oh, did I freeze?
Yeah, did I?
Ah, I'm frozen.
No, esto pasó el otro día.
¿Qué?
Esto pasó el otro día.
Okay, pero me puedes oír?
Te oigo.
Okay, well, anyways, that face I'm making is not so gross, so I'm fine with that. But yes, you can follow us. You can see, kind of the stories and what's happening, and get the sweatshirt. It's all on our Instagram. How cute am I? Not so cute.
No, you look great.
I'm dying. Oh, wait, there's a question. Should I touch this question? Oh, but I'm frozen. Wait, hold on.
Oh, there you are. Oh, wait.
Did I come back?
Again. A little.
Oh, fuck. Ew, I got kicked out. What happened? Nothing. Hold on.
We're back.
What happened?
I don't know. I'm telling you, it's been like this. I think because so many people are using lives right now.
Yes. Okay.
So I did one the other day. Same thing happened.
Of course, but now I can't even save the conversation.
Oh, no.
Anyways, so yes, you can go to This Is About Humanity, follow us, learn about what we're doing, COVID relief on the ground. If you donate now, we're tripling the impact. Buy a sweatshirt at Phenomenal. Does that cover the conversation?
I think basically, and just, that you guys are legit, and that you guys are helping out these, families that are separated, and trying to make them as comfortable as possible with food and medical needs, especially right now during COVID. Oh, that you talked about the mobile medical.
The mobile health clinic, and we're sending that mobile health clinic to shelters in Tijuana, where these families who are now kind of in limbo for an undetermined amount of time will be. And Yeah, and we're really just grateful to you for having this conversation, for just lending your platform to them, because really I see this as you allowing your platform to be used for these families, for these kids, and keep them part of the conversation. I know we're all super scared right now about COVID and the pandemic and our own health. And I think it's so important to just remember that everyone feels that way, regardless of where they are in the world or what border exists or where they were born.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
I know, and I hope I can hug you soon.
I know. Can I ask you one more thing? I don't know if you can even talk about it, but can you talk about the thing that you were supposed to do in May, and obviously you can't right now?
The best birthday ever?
Yes.
Yes. We're going to try to do it virtually, so stand by. So,
but I love that you do that.
Yeah, so we last year had an event called The Best Birthday Ever, which was for kids who had been separated or who had spent time being detained, basically throwing them a birthday party that probably their family would never be in a position to throw for them. And we had an amazing first one, and we were really excited to do the second one. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, large gatherings are not allowed, but we're thinking about doing a virtual Best Birthday Ever. And having families, the kids receive a birthday present, and you could they'll make a specific request for a gift, and then also, buy like a grocery card for the family. So It was kind of important, to, give a kid something that you don't really need. That's really the definition of a present. And I don't want that to be lost. And I want kids to still be able to be excited about a toy or something that's, totally unnecessary. Right. At the same time, a lot of these families really are either not eligible for relief under, the act that was passed, or are too scared to request relief, or just feel uncomfortable doing it. So, giving them the opportunity to be able to buy groceries. I see someone asking, how can we volunteer our time in the future? So you can email. Or you can go to the website. We have a website, thisisabouthumanity.com, and you can click on, sort of like contact, and you get put into the database. And when this kind of, blows over, we figure out how to be safe and be helpful to people, we'll reach back out with opportunities to get involved. And Francia will be there.
Yes, I will be there. I mean, I love that you're doing this, and thank you for having me on here to talk about this. I mean, this is what humanity is about, right? And also, helping each other out and building community. And I think during this pandemic, we've definitely learned the importance of community. Yeah. And people and human touch. And just like we miss human touch, these kids and these families miss it as well. So it's super important, if you guys can, to donate and support as much as you can. I know financially things are kind of crazy right now, but I promise you, when you give, you will always receive. The universe, God, whatever you believe in, it gives you right back.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, a lot of times, like, if you can give, that's amazing. And if you can't, sometimes I think people, don't really value their voice or their opinion or their ability to stand up and talk about something. And so I always say, if all you do is have a conversation with your kids, if you have kids about what's happening in the world and these families and what's going on, or if you're talking to a friend and you're willing to kind of say like, hey, I heard about this conversation that Francia was having and it was so interesting, and this is what was going on, and this is an organization that's helping them, I think that that's priceless to me, and it's invaluable, because I think even the reason why we started was because there was such a uprising of just like people who were saying like, I just don't feel like this situation is right. And that's really kind of what allowed us to step in and say, great, like, here are some ways that you can engage, because just normal people were just not feeling comfortable, seeing what was happening with these families. And so I think that that's something that you need to like understand, that like your voice really matters and your opinion really matters. And you might be, an influencer just in your own community with your own friends. You might be the person that people look to see like, well, what's Francia saying? Like, what's her point on this or her take on this? And then it's like you almost give them permission to be able to express that. So Please donate if you can, buy a sweatshirt if you can. But, you know, if you can't do any of those things, just continue to support and to speak up and to, you know, use your voice, even if it's just with one person.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Word of mouth is so impactful, and we've learned that with social media. How many times have we seen a meme that we're constantly sharing, and then all of a sudden it goes viral? I mean, these kind of conversations, organizations, we can make them go viral as well, just word of mouth. You know, you can be talking to someone you just met and say, hey, I heard this conversation with Elsa and Francia, and that person be like, oh, I know someone that can donate, or they've been wanting to donate. Like, that's literally how it happens. I mean, I reached out to you recently. You know, there's a company that wants to donate. They just want to do something.
Right.
So, you know, it goes around like that. So rather than sharing memes, you know, share about this organization and figure out a way that you can impact, even if it's just an opinion, if it's not money, and just, you know, if you know people that, you know, want to donate and they have it in their heart, start talking. That's huge. That's a good point.
And I do think that, you know, even when we met and we didn't really know each other, we had people in common. You knew people who had been involved with This Is About Humanity. And so it was like, you know, one point of connection where we were like, oh, we're comadres now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, but I do think that, you know, I love that. Yes, you can share a meme or you can share an organization that you care about and, you know, feel really good. And it is hard because, like, so much about volunteering and giving of your time, you know, we all want to do it in person. Mm-hmm. And I saw someone commenting about that. Obviously, we can't do any of that right now, but, you know, we'll be online about the best birthday ever. You know, it's about just trying to find the ways that we can do it right now. And this is kind of the limitations that we're working with. I know that, like, everything that we're doing is benefiting, you know, families, and I miss those families right now. You know, I'm used to going down there to the shelters and seeing kind of the same people and, like, how's it going? And, you know, some of the people who were coming decided to stay and now they're volunteering at the shelters. And so there was really a community down there of individuals who I, like, miss and wish I could see right now. So I'm like, okay, what's the next best thing? And it's just really providing them with this and the support that I can give them to, you know, to be as safe as they can be, and all the work that This Is About Humanity is doing. You know, my sister's on the ground and she's getting reports daily about, you know, these shelters. You know, Zoe's constantly reaching out to people to get them engaged. And so we're really just, like, at home, but probably working harder than ever.
Yeah, and we have the resources too, thankfully. Yeah. So, guys, follow This Is About Humanity. Please donate if you can, or just talk to your friends and let everyone know about this. It's super important. I mean, like I said, now more than ever, we all understand being isolated and not being able to see our loved ones. We at least get to drive down, well, at least I do, PCH, or we get to go to our friend's house. They can't do that. They literally cannot leave. So if you guys can, please donate or just follow along and start the conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Francia, and everyone who joined. Thank you. Sorry about the, like, I was, like, frozen.
I'm so sad the other one didn't say.
It's all good. I got the recap all here. It's fine.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye, honey.
Bye.